Hey, Coach, appreciate you taking the time this morning.
Hi, Allie.
We'll get started here with Tim and then Mike.
Hey, Nick, with Jalen, I'm wondering if there was a learning curve for you to coaching a quarterback who is kind of so even-keeled and non-reactionary, seemingly, to just about any circumstance. And if you've seen, the fire come out at some point, like if kind of breaking his normal stoic demeanor.
Are you asking this question in reference to the last quarterback I coached because he was pretty fiery? Is that
Nick,
where this question's coming from?
It came to mind, yeah.
It's interesting because both of them are both Philip and Jalen and myself, all coaches' sons, right? But as far as just his even keel, I think that I think that that's what's common amongst good quarterbacks. And I say that jokingly about Philip because he was just fiery in a lot of different ways. But when he's out there playing, I mean, it's this the whole time. I mean, it's like I said this one time about Philip, like I may have the thing dog mentality, but he had a different way of saying it. So my point of even bringing Philip up in this is that's a common denominator amongst good quarterbacks. And that Jalen's portrayed all year. And, again, I've been Andrew Luck was like that. And, very, very play the next play, play the next play, play the next play. Don't get too up, don't get too down. And I think not only at quarterbacks, I think that's the common denominator amongst a lot of good players is that they know how to block out, what happened in the past and focus on the play at hand and focus on what their job is at hand. And Jalen's done a good job of that. Throughout, for the entire time I've been with him, because we have been through ups and downs together, just like you would expect in a 17-game season. And so I just when you ask that question, again a common denominator amongst good players is that ability to play the next play and to stay even keeled, and that's definitely what Jalen showed throughout the year.
Mike and then Zach.
Hey, Nick, I got a two-parter for you. Are you going to rest your starters in the finale, including Jalen Hurts? And if not, with the guys you have on COVID and the little control you guys have on seeding, what would be the logic of playing those starters in this game?
That's still something that we're discussing and we're working through. And so everybody is ready to go. Even the guys that are out of the building right now are ready to go this week because of the preparation that we've had by everybody throughout the week. And so that's just still something we're sorting through, and every situation will be looked at differently. We're very aware that we don't control our own destiny as far as the 6 or 7 seed like you referred to. And so again, just, we're not control over when the guys get back with COVID. We're not control over guys they're dealing with some bumps and bruises and injuries. And so everybody's being discussed, as far as everybody's being treated as a different scenario. We've discussed all these. We're continuing to discuss all these. But, our goal is to win this football game against a rival. And I know that's their goal as well, and that should be all of our goals. And so we're ready to go. We're prepared. And everybody's prepared because we know there's a lot of different scenarios as far as guys' availability and stuff like that at this particular point. We're not coming out with an injury report yet because we have a little bit more time to discuss that. We had an early practice slash walkthrough, so we have time to continue to talk about that. So we're going to use all our time. And we'll let you guys know as soon as possible with some of that stuff. But we're going through a lot of discussions right now.
Thanks.
Did I answer both your questions, Mike?
I think so. Yes.
Why? Just because I talk so much right there, you don't even know if I answered both.
It's a lot to process. It's a lot to process.
Go ahead, Zach, and then Jeff McLean.
Hey, good morning, Nick. On the topic of the personalities of your quarterbacks, there was a report last week that Gardner Minshew came to your office after the Jets game asking what it will take to earn the starting job. I guess, how do you recall that happening? What was your response? And what does that say about Gardner?
I don't want to report anything or talk about anything that any conversation that I have with any player in my office is a conversation between myself and that player. I really, really, really value the connection part of this whole thing. I just I love being on a team, and I love being a part of a team, and being able to connect with the coaches and the players on this team. So I don't ever want to violate that relationship and that privacy that we have with those. But I will say about Gardner, he is a competitor, and he's locked in. Whether he is the backup, whether he's playing, right? He's been in both scenarios this year, right? With the Jets game, playing in that game, not knowing if he was playing till late in that week. He's going to prepare like crazy no matter what the situation, and he's competitive. And of course, every backup that we have on this team, if they didn't want to be the starter, I'd have an issue with them being the backup. And so Gardner has played a lot of football in this league. I got a lot of confidence in him, that he's our backup and that he's the player that he's in. I mean, right? We saw again. We always talk about wanting your backup quarterback to be able to come in and function and give you a chance to win. And we saw that he gave us. He was awesome in the game that he played against the Jets. And so, I would be disappointed if Gardner didn't want to be the starter. But obviously Jalen's our starter.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Jeff, and then Dave.
Nick, if you weren't to play your starters or some key players for more than a drive or even at all in this game or in other games, what would be the reasons that you'd be okay with doing so?
Again, don't want to get in too much into hypotheticals. As far as if because again, we're still sorting through some of those things. I guess the one thing one thing you would be concerned about with not playing is I think I've been around this game long enough where the debates are again like, well, are they going to be ready for the one side of it says they're going to be rested, right? And the other side is like, well, you're in a 4-game winning streak right now. What if you disrupt that? And they're not ready to go the next week. So I get both sides of it. I guess, we're playing this. You're asking the question about if we don't play them, what gives me confidence that, and so I guess what I would say to that, Jeff, again, I know this is a hypothetical and I want to think too much about it, but I will answer your question, obviously. I think what my confidence is, if the decision is to have to rest a couple guys or whatever it is, the way we go about practice and the way we prepare, I have so much confidence in our process and the way we go about how we get ready. And I know we practice hard. I know that's been what we've really made this a staple of our what do I say, of our the way we are here, right? Is that we go out and we practice hard every day. That doesn't mean you start fast every single game and that things don't happen in a game where you don't look great at the beginning, but we practice our tails off here. We practice our butts off here because we know how important practice is to getting ready for the game. And so that's what would give me the confidence of not worrying about, that not having the momentum or whatever it is like that, because we practice the same no matter if we're coming off a win, coming off a loss, whether we're playing in a wild card game, whether we're playing in a preseason game. Our practice habits are, part of who we are. And again, why are they that way? We stress that as coaches, but really there's so many veterans on this team that know how to practice, that have won so many games in this league, that we just talk about it, and it's happening because of your Jason Kelsey's, your Rodney McLeod's, your Lane Johnson's, your Fletcher Cox's. Like they know how to practice, they know what it takes to be ready on game on Sunday. So hopefully I answered your question, Jeff, best I could.
Go ahead, Dave, and then Martin.
Hey, Nick, it's kind of a weird week in that you guys don't really have much to play for in terms of seeding, and you have a bunch of players missing. What's the intensity level been like, and did you have to worry about the guys kind of coasting through this week?
Not even a little bit. Again, that's just with what we've preached all year, what our players are like on this football team. That everyone's preparing like they're playing in this football game, and I noticed no difference. We had to go a little bit different as coaches of how we went through practice. Like for instance, we had a couple more walkthroughs than normal because the scout teams were a little bit were less, right? Because you didn't have there was guys filling in for guys that were out with COVID, so we did a little bit more good on good this week than we have in the past. And so that was the main difference. But the intensity, I've said it before on here, our goal is to get a little bit better each day. Get 1% better each day, get a little better each day. And how do you do that? We talk about this all the time. Our detail in meetings, starting with us as coaches, being so detailed on what the job description is for each individual play against each individual look that they could potentially get, being full speed to the snap and walkthrough, and intensity at practice. If you guys were able to recite that with me right there because you knew what I was going to say, I promise you our players know that because I talk about that all the time. And I know they believe it. I know they know it. I know that, they've lived it through the entire year and through years past. That's why they've won so many football games here in the past. And so, when you talk about things all the time like that, I mean, that's what, that's who you are, and that's what you're about. That's what you get. And so I saw no difference. That's why I keep saying our guys that are every guy that's in this building and even virtually this week are ready to go because of the way they go about their business. And no man suddenly becomes different than his cherished thoughts and habits. It's not like you all of a sudden you're in the playoffs and boom, you forget how to work, or boom, you change who you are and how you've prepared for 17 weeks, right? And vice versa. If you haven't prepared hard for 17 weeks, it's not like, boom, I might get a chance to play, I'm going to go a little bit harder today, right? And so, so we're big into habits, and this team has great habits because of the players and the men that we have in this building.
We have time for two more, so go ahead, Martin, and then John.
Hey, Nick. I noticed on the injury report this week, Jalen's been listed as limited with the ankle injury. Is that just, still based on, the original injury like 3 or 4 weeks ago? And as far as Lane and Landon are concerned, what's the situation with them?
Again, still have time to sort through that and give you a status a little bit later. Martin, I'm sorry, I can't give you that right yet. Still talking through it. As far as Jalen, it's still the ankle. For nothing new happened in the game. It's still, he's still recovering from that ankle again that he suffered against the Giants. So, that's why he's on the injury report.
Go ahead, John.
Hi, Nick.
Hey, John.
We had a chance to talk to Jalen Rager yesterday, and Jalen mentioned that you weren't very happy when the fans were booing him. You were the first one who came up to him when he had the drop in New York. You mentioned connection, and he talked about you as a person before as a coach. What does that kind of mean to you?
Yeah, it means a lot to me. That means an awful lot to me that that he said that and talked about that first, because again, connecting is so important to me. I've talked to you guys about this. Like, why is connecting important to me? Because it's a relationship. It's a relationship business. And why did I want to get into coaching in the first place? Shoot, for my entire life growing up, I would see grown men come to my father's house, my parents' house, and just to see my dad. And, just because they're back into town, they had to do a couple, and they wanted to come see my dad because they had a connection with him. And I always thought that was so cool, and one of the main reasons I got into coaching. And so, I think what can be, some people think sometimes that, oh, you're in the NFL as a coach, you won't be able to have those connections. And I think when I first went to the NFL, I kind of felt like, all right, I really want to be at the top of my profession, and be at the top, at the top level. But am I going to be able to have the same relationships I had with guys in college? Because I never coached high school. And I think the answer that I found out very quickly was yes, you can. And so that's really important to me, and that he said that, and because I get attached to these guys because we're with it. We go through so many. It's a family. It really is. Think about the ups and downs that you go through with your family throughout a year or whatever, and obviously I've only been with these guys for, coming up on a year now. But you go through so many things, and that's the same thing that happens with a football team, that you go through all these ups and downs. And so, through that you develop these connections, and if you work at it. And so that means a lot to me that he recognizes that. That means a lot to me that me and him are tight, and and because I'm tight with a lot of the former, when I played with the former coaches that I had. And so I think that's always a great feeling to have in 15 years from now, like that, I'm going to still text these guys, or like even relationships I had with guys that I coached in college, I'm still texting these guys and talking to them and having that relationship, because that means a lot to me. And I think I realized that a long time ago, because I grew up as a son of a football coach and a track coach, and then see the relationships that he had with his players. So that means an awful lot.